My name is Linda Reed Curtis. I was born in Borger, Texas, October the 12th, 1943. Okay, my dad was Harold Reed. My mother was Hazel Brown Reed. And my mother was raised in Hazel Valley. My father was raised at Clyde. Okay, I have 3 brothers, Harold Leo, Van Jay, and Tommy, and they all 3 live in Lincoln. We were raised on the farm at Clyde, and we had chicken houses and cows and pigs, and then my daddy started driving for Cuddy Hay. My mother was a nurse at the Elizabeth Hospital, so us kids pretty well, took care of things, and they milked cows. After my mother started working, I was the cook, cleaning house, washing, and the boys was mostly out taking care of all the chores. There was only 4 of us in my class. Going to school, I started in 1950, first grade, and like I said, we got on the bus and came, and we liked riding the bus. And coming to school, I do know one thing, and most of the time, most of us didn't have any money, but you were allowed after a certain grade, and I don't know which one it was, to walk down to the store during recess and get some candy. But most of us didn't get to do that a few times, but that was really, yeah, we didn't have the money. Most kids didn't have the money, but we could if we had it, or we could just walk down with them. But, that was surprising, but we did walk down to the store. Well, mostly I remember going to school was that we all wanted to ring the bell when it was time to come in, but it got to a point that they didn't let us, and I guess maybe it was dangerous or something, but we wasn't really supposed to touch the bell and ring the bell. We wasn't supposed to go into the jungle that I call the jungle on out, where the sorghum is, where they make the sorghum. Well, back in there, but we would slip in there, me and Gary McClellan and Aquila. Well, Shaker Yates, of course, had the store here, but I was at Clyde, so his brother had the Clyde store, and that's mostly where we went to buy groceries. Otherwise, we would go into Lincoln if you could find a parking place in Lincoln at that time, because on Saturdays, the square was full. There wasn't hardly, they had a movie theater and all that, and then they had Tittles, merchant, all that, but it was exciting to come to Lincoln, and you can't imagine how many people. All we had when I went to school there for a while was the merry-go-round. We didn't have swings, we didn't have the slide. So we really ran around and played cowboys and Indians and got on the merry-go-round. And when they got the slide there in the last few years I was there, none of us had ever been on a slide, and it was wrestling. To have fun, we just kind of got out together. We'd even wrestle. I remember me and Janie wrestling, and like I said, playing with the boys and girls played together, and we just played cowboys and Indians or played hide and seek, and we wasn't to go down to the spring either on the Cane Hill grounds. So we'd slip down there and look at that spring, but we wasn't supposed to be down there. And of course, I told you about my cut on my leg.
Tell me again.
Okay, me and Gary McClellan and Gary Brown and Aquila was playing cowboys and Indians. And I was running across the field right in front of the lunchroom. And at that time, the cooks had put the cans in those big old cans out, and the lids they had cut completely off. So Gary picked up one of the lids, it was his bullet, and he threw it at me, and it sliced me across the leg. And what was interesting, of course, he saw the blood coming out. He ran to the outdoor boys' bathroom and hid. was scared to death, and they took me up to Dr. Boyer's, and I've still got the stitches that Dr. Boyer put in, but it was fun. We'd tease him later, and he didn't want to hear about it. But after that, I don't know of anybody picking up the lids off of the cans to throw. Adults would get together and play cards, is what they mostly did. And I do remember our first TV, when we got it, the neighbors came up and we watched wrestling. That was the most interesting thing that we saw on TV.
Do you know what year that would have been, or about what year?
I'm going to say that was probably in the late 50s. It'd have to be the late 50s, maybe the early 60s. But when I was in school up here at Cane Hill, we'd all stand at the bottom of the stairs. We were not to go up the stairs. We did not have classes up there. And that was one of the biggest things when a teacher wasn't looking, sneaking up there, kind of glancing around and coming back down. We could only go upstairs if the teacher took us up there that something was going to happen on the stage. And we got to go up there at that time if they was putting on a play. But otherwise, there was no classes up there. And, you know, I think amazing as I look back was how did a teacher in one room, seats would be all first, the next and second graders, third, fourth. She had to teach that many grades in one room. To be a student, it was really great because the teacher, and I feel for them, they would teach one row, then they'd go to the next one, and so you could break. You didn't have to listen to what, say if I was a first grader, all right, teach us for a while, go the second graders, and we didn't have to listen to what they were learning. We should have. And then the third and the fourth, I think there was 4 grades in that one room. Well, getting our first bicycle, riding up and down the dirt roads. As a kid, that was exciting. We only, like I had 3 brothers, so we had to share a bicycle. But that was one of the greatest things, you know, finally to get a bicycle. And when you lived out in the country and your folks worked, it was more or less you stayed on the place. Yes, we had to get chores done, just like the boys had to have the milking done. For the milk truck driver came by and picked it up, so you had to have that done. Yeah, back then you milked the cow, and then you had to, and it wasn't in the chicken houses, it wasn't automatic. You had to go through, and we had a 2-story chicken house too. So, you know, you had to go and dump the feed out and make sure they had water, and so the boys worked hard. They really worked hard.